Our first class and lifetime members for the second episode of Barmy Army Meets. Barmy Army Meets is in partnership with Opening Up. Opening Up promotes mental well-being and suicide prevention through cricket. They deliver sessions with clubs and offer resources online with a focus on positive mental health. Since 2014, they've been saying it's not weak to speak, to encourage conversation on what is such an important topic. Be sure to check them out in our bio at openingup.com. A further note to say thank you to all of our members who are key workers, from the NHS frontline staff to the shelf stackers in the supermarkets, from the Barmy Army, a massive thank you. So, we're all still cooped up in isolation. We thought we'd bring you another amazing experience to ask questions to your cricket and heroes. Last week, we had a first show with Woody. If you haven't checked that one out yet, check it out on our YouTube channel. It's a very good show. I'm sure this one will be just as good. Without further ado, I'd like to give a warm Barmy Army welcome to our Young Player of the Year for 2019. Sam, how are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. How you doing? Just chilling at home at the minute. Not much. Everyone would love to be in the park. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good. Same as you, bud. Same as you. Cooped up, but I think we're all in this together, aren't we? And just, I bet while you're trying to stay fit, we're trying to stay sane.
Yeah, I know. It's we've all been sent programs to kind of tick along and keep our fitness up, but there's not many ways other than we'd probably rather be at our grounds and our county gyms and bowling in the nets. I think the county season was meant to start on Sunday, so that's obviously where all the players would have been, and I'm sure come Sunday there'll be a lot of county cricketers imitating their first ball of the summer.
I imagine you won't miss the old hand warmers in the pockets though at this time of year.
Yeah, I know. To be fair, luckily I'm not in the slip cordon, but I'm sure those three slips in the gullies who around the circuit will be pretty chuffed that they don't have to get the old hand warmers in the pockets, especially on a green one at Durham.
Absolutely. So first up, there's been a lot of things going on social media in the cricket world, and people are stepping up to do their bit, and you've done that to raise money for the NHS. Can you just tell everyone about what you've done?
Yeah, well, basically, I've kind of, obviously, everyone in the world, I guess at this time, has probably got a lot more, especially in the sporting world, as players, we've probably got a lot more time on our hands in terms of, like, we'd obviously rather be doing what we do day in, day out. But right now, we've obviously got to stay indoors and respect what the government's telling us. And I think sitting at home, I came up with, well, I was obviously had a lot of time to think, and I came up with almost a way that the cricketing community can almost give back to the NHS, who are doing such great work. So I kind of thought about ways in which we can raise some funds, whether that's the smallest or the biggest amount, I think. And right now it's going pretty well. It's for an organization, Heroes Help Them Help Us, which is kind of focusing direct support like transport and kind of the meals for the ones that are working such long shifts, and almost trying to facilitate as well the psychological aspect that they'll need beyond this. So it's kind of trying to do my best and give back, but obviously as a cricketing community, we're all trying to give back in many ways.
Amazing support, and I've seen it's already at £9,000. I would like, if possible, everyone who watches this tonight, tomorrow, in the next week, if you can, get on there. The link's in the bio. Give as little or as much as you want. Please donate, because it's an amazing thing what Sam's doing, and it's an amazing thing he's come on tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
So Mark Lowe, one of our members who loves your song, sings your song, did a Grand National sweepstake and raised £200, and he's donated it to your appeal. So he's set the tone. So what a good guy.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
Okay, right. We're gonna get straight to it. I think basically how the format of this is, we'll have an informal chat. We've got some questions that the members have put in already, and the live stream's going to be running, and the questions will pour in, I'm sure. So if you want to ask any questions to Sam, be sure to get them in the comments now, and I'll try and get them over. We've got a few already, so we're going to kick straight in with Jonathan has asked you, Sam, how was it to play in the series against India when you first came on the scene and win Player of the Series? How did that feel?
Yeah, I think it was obviously massive in terms of that summer was pretty strange in terms of at the start of that summer I probably didn't expect to be playing in an English international team in the summer, and Stokesy obviously got injured at Headingley. I think it was a series against Pakistan, and then I got the call from Ed Smith, and I was was actually on the golf course at the time, and I wasn't really focusing on that par 380 yards in, but I was more. I couldn't really focus. I was very excited that evening. I got in my car straight down to Headingley, and then I think it was one training session. Stokesies was kind of on and off whether he would play. I played that test. Like, that was my debut. I probably wasn't really ready for that, to be honest. It went very quickly. Brody and Jimmy skittled them. I think we won by an innings. And then probably 2 or 3 weeks later, the India series started. And I had in the back of my mind that I'd probably be playing, but I was in the squad, I guess. And then we obviously started at, I think it was Edgbaston, which was a great test for me personally. And obviously to win, it was an amazing time. And yeah, it was pretty good memories. And I can't wait to, obviously, everyone would love to be playing now, but there's nothing better than playing at Edgbaston, especially with you guys, the Barmy Army. That was my first experience of the Barmy Army, to be fair, where I've heard a lot about Edgbaston, but that was probably the eye-opener in terms of everyone in that stand and getting behind the boys. And I think it was the last day where they needed about 70 odd and we needed 5 wickets, and there weren't many fans. The only fans there were probably the Barmy Army, so it was pretty cool.
Sounds about right. Well, how did you find that, your first experience of the Barmy Army?
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm mostly watching growing up. You obviously hear so many things, and you watch it. I've watched so many episodes and stuff about the Barmy Army, and as I've started to play more games, you probably realize how much the Barmy Army actually are there. And I think my first few games, I was probably more worried about my performance and winning games and things like that. Whereas when you're playing a bit more, you kind of have a bit more time in the field to relax and focus on the Barmy Army. In Cape Town, wow, this year in Cape Town, that was probably the biggest eye-opener for me in terms of that test. Wow, it was literally ebbed and flowed both ways. And obviously being 1-0 down from Centurion, it was, everyone knows how good Cape Town is, and every evening you go out for dinner, the Barmy Army would be taking over the waterfront, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good fun, very good fun, that test match. Now we've got a question from Shane, who's asked what your favourite memory is so far in an England shirt.
I think I'll actually probably say 2 memories in terms of, I think my first memory that came straight away there was probably when Alistair Cook got his 100 in his last test at the Oval at my home ground, which was pretty special. Obviously, going into that test, there was a lot of emotions. Cookie had told most of the players that this was going to be his last test, and to see how much it meant to the older players in terms of emotionally, the guys have played years and years together as a team, and maybe not so much for me going in probably to my 3rd or 4th game. It was kind of, Alistair Cook's kind of retiring, and it probably didn't hit me as hard as it hit the older players. So that was pretty, in terms of a emotional side and things like that, it was really cool to see, actually, like a legend like Alistair Cook, and then it means so much to all his mates like Jimmy, Broad, Rooty, obviously all these guys and who have played with him for so long. That's a memory that probably sticks with me. Going back, Cape Town, I think, has probably been the best win. I think we bowled all day 5. It was a pretty flat wicket, and going to the last session, it was kind of 5 wickets. I think it was 5 wickets. Then Dennis bowled a nice, beautiful leg spin into the rough and got caught at mid wicket. And then Stokesy did what Stokesy does on a regular basis. So that's probably my biggest memory in terms, my favourite memory on a pitch, in terms of like getting back into the dressing room there when we've literally led the game for so long, and it came down to, I think it was 7 or 8 overs left, and it was pretty cool. And I think that those are the days you live in. That's what you train for.
What you play for, absolutely, yeah. Great to hear. Now we've got a question here from Paul Rye after live stream. Who was your childhood cricketing hero?
I'd probably say childhood. Obviously, my dad was always a hero of mine, and kind of I always looked up to him in terms of, he obviously played. I didn't get to watch him as much because obviously we were so young, but looking at videos back, and then he'd always try and coach us to be almost all the legends of the game. I've got number 58 on my shirt, and Tom's got 59. My dad was born in 1959, and I just thought, when I signed my first contract, I went one below, and then now Ben, my other brother's gone 57, so we're all together, which is pretty cool. Really? And I'd say as a player, international players, maybe I love watching guys like Brett Lee, Brian Lara, all those kind of guys. And I wouldn't say I had one particular favourite, but I just loved watching all the legends. Yeah.
Great answer. Fantastic answer. As you can imagine, we've had a lot of questions about the competition between the brothers. Now, the main question is, who was the best at garden cricket, and how competitive did it get?
Well, it still goes on still now to this day. We always set up in the back garden and have a bit of a mess about it. Me being the youngest, I always had to be the one almost fielding, because Ben and Tom would be the ones batting bowling. But as we've got a bit older, it's kind of, I guess, got a bit more fair. I guess we don't argue as much. We've got so many ways. We tape up the tennis ball one side, which I'm sure all kids do nowadays. Get it swinging both ways, and you kind of imitate all your legends, and then you copy people's stances. And yeah, it's pretty. I wouldn't say, as I said, we played so much. There's always kind of days where you're the better player. I think that's why we so competitive, and we probably bring it out in the park.
Brilliant. And then leading off that, we've had another question submitted saying, how do your parents decide who to go and watch?
Well, actually, to be fair, I came up a couple of weeks ago. I was sitting at home with my brother and with Ben and my mum, and we kind of, because now Northants are in Division 1, obviously there could be a clash this summer, Surrey versus Northants. So I think I actually said to my mum, who would you support if me and Tom were bowling at Ben? And my mum said Ben, because he's batting. And I don't think she actually got that we'll be bowling. So I think we'll have to, maybe she'll have to go and like go out to the shops or something when that clash is happening and just look at the scorecard after, because I think she'll be a bit nervous, and I'm sure we'd be pretty nervous. So it's all pretty exciting, and hopefully sometime this summer we can have a clash of Northants versus Surrey.
Absolutely, it'd be great to see that. It'd be great to see a competition between the CURRAN brothers. Just still on the brothers topic, Andrew Thompson submitted a question at one of the Barmy Army team. He's asked if any of the three of you ever considered representing Zimbabwe instead of England.
I think, well, obviously me and Ben were born in England, in terms of we were still young, and my dad coached Zimbabwe. We grew up there in terms of that's just the way we grew up. But I think obviously at the time when we came back to England, we were probably 12 or 13. I was 13, so I always had my dream of playing for England. There's always going to be people who say, "Did you want to do that? Did you want to do that?" But being born in England and watching all my heroes, and going to school, finishing school in England at Wellington, I've always wanted to play for England, and luckily I'm doing that now.
Great stuff. Good answer. Great to hear. Now, a lot of people have been asking questions about what you prefer, batting or bowling, and therefore where you prefer taking 50s or fifers.
I think growing up, I was always probably a batter who bowled, in terms of kind of, I probably grew as I got older and probably started to enjoy bowling a bit more. I got into the Surrey side as a bowler when there's a few injuries to, I think, Chris Chemlett when he started finishing off, and that's when I started at Surrey. But my role at Surrey has probably been a bowling all-rounder. But as I played a few more years there, I probably started to slide up to number 6 in the batting order. I love my batting. It's obviously, I probably haven't got the scores I would have liked in recent times, but I think that's the way it goes. It ebbs and flows, and hopefully soon I can get some runs on the board. But I just try and contribute. I look up to someone like Stokesy, who's so consistent with both bat and ball, and I've had a few chats with him about managing stuff and kind of just working on areas that I feel like I need to work on. So hopefully down the line I could potentially imitate how Stokesy bats in the middle order and takes wickets, scores runs. And my main thing is I love contributing, whether it's a couple of wickets, a few runs there, and trying to contribute to the team to win games.
What's it like having someone like Stokesy as an all-rounder to look up to in the England side?
Yeah, I think it's everyone's seen what he has done his whole career, but last summer was pretty incredible with the World Cup and obviously the Ashes, and then he was so consistent in South Africa as well. So I think I saw yesterday Wisden have voted him the cricketer of the year or something that on that lines, and he fully deserves that. He's obviously a freak of a player, and he's one of the legends, and he's a really good. He helps us youngsters in the side so much, and especially now with myself, Zach, Popey, and there's so many youngsters in the team now. And Sib is coming on as well. It's pretty cool. So, and Bessie, there's so many guys. It's such a young squad, and with some great senior players. So we're learning a lot.
Fantastic to see. Now, Chris Rumsey, who's a big Surrey fan, has commented on the live stream, and he's asked, Where do you see yourself batting for England in the future? I think he wants to know a number off you. Big Surrey fan and been watching you and Tom over the years at the Oval.
As I said earlier, I think I'd love to bat as high as I can, but as I said, I'll try and just keep contributing to the batting. I like to see myself batting 5-6 in the middle order as the all-rounders usually do in the side, and just got to keep trying to work hard on my game and score some runs for Surrey when we get back to it, and hopefully I'll be scoring runs for England as well.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Now, a slight change of tone, but it's a question off the line stream, so I've got to ask it. Who's got the worst fashion sense in the England side?
Oh, wow. Denley comes up with some strange gears here and there. He's rocking the old Under Armour trainers with some jeans. So now and again, the boys get stuck into him. Popey comes out with some good gears, but again, some strange trousers here and there. Living in London now, he obviously tries to impress, and he's coming out with some colourful shirts, trousers, shoes, it's chains, everything. To be fair, he's one of my good mates, but he'll kill me for this probably.
I'm sure he'll hear it. Now we've had a question from Tommy Harrison here. Which other bowlers do you look to learn the most from in the England side, I would imagine?
I think that's pretty obvious. And Jimmy and Broady, the two legends of England cricket, I probably learning a lot more recently in terms of just kind of asking questions about. Now I've played a few games, I kind of feel like I've got areas I want to work on, and I played in most conditions now, so I've spoken to them about areas I need to work on, areas I can keep adding value to my game, and learning from those legends is pretty incredible. They've both got so many wickets for England, and I think I'd be pretty silly if I wasn't trying to question them in training and working on areas that they think I can improve. I try and ask them questions where we're in the nets and what they can see I'm doing right, what they can see I'm doing wrong. So just got to keep trying to pick their brains, and hopefully I can keep learning more and more.
Good, great to hear. Now I will apologise to Leo Methley for using the term Stokesy. Yes, I agree. That is terrible from me. And he's also asked, why does he always nick you off in the garden? I feel like this could be an inside joke here.
I was waiting until one of these questions come up. What all my mates have seen I'm coming on this, and they're all big Barmy Army fans, and kind of. No, it's always linking back to garden cricket. All the boys that come around, we always get stuck in and get out. They'll never let it go. But he's a good off spinner, but hopefully he won't get me out again.
Very good. Good. Now back to batting, Sam. We're going all over the place, but we've had a question submitted saying, who is the fastest bowler that you've ever faced?
To be. But Joff's pretty sharp when he's going. Everyone knows that. Who else would be on there? Obviously Woody again, county cricket stuff. He's always up there. Norkie from South Africa was pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Who else would there? There's so many now in international cricket. You don't really get too many slow ones. You either get slow and skillful, or you get rapid.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to have a little chat about the Australians, because there has been a documentary that's come out in recent times, which obviously the Barmy Army have latched onto and enjoyed watching. It's been good insight into changing rooms, but some say a bit of PR stunt. I won't press you on it, but what were your thoughts on the documentary?
It's obviously everyone's probably watched it now. That's one watching every documentary, Netflix, everything under there that's going on at the minute. But I think, to be fair, I really enjoyed it. I thought it obviously shows us into the inside of the Aussie dressing room, and seeing. I thought it was most enjoyable when you saw players, well, especially when we won the games, and kind of see their emotions in the dressing room. It's pretty cool because international sport, I'm sure every fan out there would love that cricket fan would love that documentary, because the stuff you don't really get to see, like behind the scenes on the bus, in the dressing room, team talks, stuff like that. So it's an amazing. It's obviously every team's got their own way of running stuff, and I think that Aussie documentary has showed the ups and downs that they've been through, and it was pretty. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool, but obviously I've loved to win the Ashes, but I think 2-2 was probably a fair reflection in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So just on that, with the obviously the 4-0 defeat in the Ashes last time, the Ashes coming up in 2021, 22, people looking forward to that already with what's going on. What's the goal? Is it to win it over there and go with a really strong side and roll them over?
Yeah, definitely. I think anytime there's England fixtures coming up, we're always going to be preparing to win wherever that is. But I'm sure, as everyone knows, being in Australia is the ultimate aim. I've never been there as well, so that's obviously one of my goals at the moment, is try and do everything I can to be in that 15, 16, whatever it is, that will be flying over to Australia. It's obviously, my brother actually did it a couple of years ago, and he told me it's an amazing experience. And that's one of the, I think any England team that's won in Australia says that's the ultimate. So, or any international team that goes across to Australia, I think that's maybe the hardest place to win. And I think that's definitely our aim, yeah.
Very good. Good to hear. I think all the Barmy Army want to hear that, so they'll be happy. Now, John Mason has asked you a question. Do you enjoy opening the bowling, or do you prefer bowling first change?
I think it's a good question. I think probably now at the moment with the England side, it's probably with Jimmy and Broad taking the new ball, it's probably been a nice time for me to almost be in the field learning and watching the way they bowled the new ball and things like that. I've probably taken that role in recent times. Took the new ball a couple of times in South Africa, which I really enjoyed. But I think, as I said earlier, any way that I'm contributing to the team is going to be the way I'm moving forward. I think any bowler probably wants to take the new ball. That's pretty self-explanatory. I think the new ball's a great time to bowl, but then again with the Duke ball, it probably swings a little bit more when the lacquer actually comes off the ball. So I think it's an interesting point, but I think anytime I'm bowling for England, you're not going to take for granted. You're just going to keep trying to contribute.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Now, Leah's asked, what is the one thing you'd most like to achieve in your cricket career? What's the biggest thing you'd like to achieve?
Oh, wow. I think just try and be a consistent performer for England for many years. I guess that's probably try and play for England as long as possible and try and contribute. Linking back to the point about winning in Australia, that's probably the ultimate aim as an England player, is try and win there. There's so many goals you can set, but you don't want to set too many because you can almost look too far ahead and try and get too excited, I guess. But you just got to try stay in the moment. But I definitely think winning in Australia is probably the ultimate goal for any player, and you just got to keep trying to enjoy and not look too far ahead.
Yeah, good man. Now I'm going to have to ask you a question from Elliot George because he's badgering us on the old live stream, and he's inserted a question earlier on. So, first question is: do you have any mates that are in the Barmy Army? And the second question: who's the best player that's not made it as a pro?
He probably wants me to say him, doesn't he?
I think by the sounds of it, he does. Yeah.
Well, Elliot, he is actually a Barmy Army member, I think, and he's already planning his trip to Australia next year. So I'm sure you'll come across him very soon. He's one of the biggest cricket fans I know. He's one of my really good mates, but I don't really know. I guess I'll probably just say him because he'll probably be happy.
Is it good having mates on tour when you make?
Hey,
is it good having mates on tour when you're all over the world playing?
Yeah, it is. I think obviously when you've had a tough day, you've had a good day, it's always nice to kind of wind down, go for some dinner and stuff like that in the evenings, and try and take your mind away from the game. And obviously, if you win a game, it would be nice to have a beer afterwards and kind of enjoy the win and stuff like that. So I think that's why we appreciate the Barmy Army so much, is because they travel with us through the ups, through the downs, and you kind of try to stay level because you're going to go through many lows as much as you're going to have highs.
Absolutely. Okay, now on to another question we've got here. Can you name your top 5 players of all time and grounds? So your top 5 favourite cricketers of all time and grounds.
That I've played against?
I think ever. Idols that you've played against?
Wow. I reckon...
Elliot George is irrelevant.
I reckon Sangakkara is probably up there in my world's best, having played with him at Surrey for 3 or 4 years. He's one of the life's good guys as well. So I definitely would have him there in my top 5. His stats, his career, his achievements are pretty incredible. Who else do you reckon? Oh, Virat Kohli's pretty special. Again, having played against him, some of the innings he's played last couple of years ago, and the innings his record, I think he's approaching nearly like hundreds already, and probably take over Sachin soon. So he's pretty cool. Who else would be? I reckon Jimmy Anderson's probably in my top as a young bowler. Looking up to Jimmy, my whole growing up and stuff like that. To be playing with him now is pretty cool. He's obviously recently had some horrible injuries, and I'm sure when the summer hopefully kicks off, he'll be cleaning up everywhere. So I think he's a great guy to learn from, and that's pretty exciting. I definitely have him as my bowler. I'm making a team.
Yeah, making a five-a-side team. I like it.
Well, who else will we have?
Woody just said all bowlers. You won't be surprised to hear.
I reckon Shane Warne's obviously. I never played against him, but watching him growing up, he's probably one of the all-time. He is the all-time leading wicket taker, I think, in Tests. Or him and Muralitharan. I've never played against both of them. They're probably the two best spinners ever to have played the game. They would have loved to face them. Actually, chatted to him quite a few times, but it's kind of just who else? I reckon last guy in the world I'd probably have. What I've really enjoyed watching is probably someone like A.B. de Villiers.
Yeah.
In terms of how explosive he is and inventive, and as a modern play, looking up to someone like him in a batting front, and he's almost so fearless, and he's still doing it now, and I'd rather not bowl at him, but I'd love to watch him on the sofa when he's whacking the Aussies everywhere.
Yeah, we all love that. We all love that, Sam. And favourite grounds? I'm going to guess Cape Town's going to be right in there.
Yeah, definitely Cape Town. Obviously, that was my first experience in December playing there, or January. That was pretty cool. Home ground, the Oval. That's pretty special. I played
Great ground.
My first Ashes test there, last in the 5th test. That was pretty amazing, and I get to play there regularly with big crowds and some very good wickets as well. Probably my first man of the match, Edgbaston's pretty cool as a home ground.
Home of us.
It's obviously the Barmy Army really love Edgbaston, and I think just as an atmosphere and facilities at Edgbaston are amazing. Our change rooms, the nets, the gym. They even had a football pitch there, 5-a-side pitch when we were allowed to play football. So the boys are gutted about that. So obviously, but the right decision's been made. I think Gaul, actually, I really enjoyed Gaul last.
Yeah,
Gaul. It's a very different ground. No, not many stands. A lot more kind of relaxed feel to it. And the Barmy Army, they actually were massive. Was it 2 years? A year and a half ago?
2 years,
maybe.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Yeah, where we won 3-0. That was pretty cool. And Gaul's cool. Lovely beaches. As a place, it was really different.
Yeah.
Probably. Where else would I probably say? Lords is pretty special in terms of history and all the traditions that you got to do there, and walking through the long room, and I think that's the ultimate in terms of tradition and like actually cricket vibes, and everyone rocking up in their MCC ties, and there's not much. What do the Barmy Army think of Lords?
It's the only place, and it's the only ground in the whole of the world that we don't get ticket allocation, because it's the MCC's ground. But look, I think every member of the Barmy Army respects it for what it is, and we hold it in fairly high regard because it's Lords, it's special. We were there in the World Cup final because the ICC gave us tickets, but hopefully we'll be in there soon.
That's pretty. They've got new stands going up, so I'm sure they must name one of them the Barmy Army stand or something like that.
Get us in there. Hey, if you know someone, Sam, get us in. All right, brilliant. So, going to ask you a question now. What's the best practical joke you've ever seen played on a teammate, or done yourself even?
Wow. At school, I haven't done anything internationally. I once put a phone in one of my mates' front pads during a school game, and I rung his phone. I put it on loud, obviously, and rung it whilst he was batting, and it obviously rung whilst the game was going on. That was pretty. So that was obviously stopped the game. No one knew where the phone was. Then obviously it started. They eventually got the joke. Didn't own it for that. So, and
very smart.
To be fair, there hasn't been too many recently, and professional game. It's quite hard. The rules are so strict now, especially with phones and maybe Garmin's and stuff like that, because in terms of ICC. So I definitely wouldn't do one in an England game. I'd more try it for my club, Weybridge or something like that.
Yeah, don't blame you. Now we've had a question off the live stream saying, why do you always look so relaxed when you play? How do you manage to pull that off?
Must have a good way of doing that, because I'm definitely not. No, I'm joking. It's probably, I guess it's just trying to. I think I was probably, as I said earlier in this piece, it was probably when I played in my first game in Pakistan, the debut. I was probably my most nervous in terms of. I wasn't even say nervous. I probably wasn't even ready for it. Like I probably just played the game, and it's only probably started sinking in afterwards. I've just actually played a game for England, so it was. I think once you play a few games and you actually take a couple of wickets or score a few runs, you probably actually believe you can perform at the level that you're at. And I think that's why I got so much respect for the guys who do it. Like that's why I look up to someone like Stokes. He's so consistent in every format, and that's where I obviously dream and aim to be, is in all formats for England, contributing, and that's obviously the ultimate aim. And I think if you look too far ahead, I guess, and you in the moment as well, say, oh, I'm going to hit a Yorker. Yeah, you got to kind of commit to it. If you think, oh, he's moving to the leg side, I've got to bowl a different ball. I think if you're thinking too much about, I think that's when you almost get it wrong, because I feel you're thinking about too much, and maybe when you're batting, if you're predicting where he's going to bowl and he bowls somewhere totally different and you hit it straight up in the air. I think if you set on one thing, and I think that's how I try and play my game, is to try and think about one thing, and I'm going to try and say, I'm going to try to swing this one away, commit to it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I think that's where I try and think about my game, is because if I start thinking about bowling in swing, that, and then this, then I think I'll be all over the park.
Very good. Now we are partnered with Opening Up Cricket to do this series of shows, and they're all about mental health, and they use cricket as a tool. They've inserted a few questions. How do you look after your mental health when you're playing at the top level?
It's a good question, actually. It's obviously I know a lot about Opening Up. I've kind of followed them in the past few years and stuff like that. Brilliant. And they're doing great stuff. It's more mental health, obviously massive in terms of in cricket. I think I find many ways about obviously playing international games. I try and get away in terms of get on the golf course and things like that. You clear the head, and everyone loves any cricketer. I'm sure any sports fan loves golf. It's probably one of the most frustrating games when you're losing 6 or 7 balls around. And I think it's one of those things you just try and get your mind away from cricket. I'm like any young teenager or whatever you want to call it, about playing Xbox and FIFA and things like that. Gaming, I enjoy gaming and playing against my mates online and things like that. And then again, just being with your mates and just trying to get away from it. That's generally how I try. And I've actually recently got into cycling, which is I never thought I would, but just trying to get away. And I've actually got a watt bike at home, and just trying to get away, put the phone on the side and just have a little ride and just clear the mind. So that's my way of doing it. And I think everyone's got different techniques. People might read books, but I think it's quite important to get away from your actual day job and try and clear your head and just try and have a good night's sleep and just get your mind away. I think when you're going through bad form and stuff like that, I think that's the biggest time, is you start overthinking the game. How was I performing so well there? And I'm trying exactly the same thing and it's not working. It's just trying to stay level when you're going high and when you're going badly.
Great answer. Great answer. Now we've got a question from Woody Bocock here, and he's asking why is it true that you walked down too many flights of stairs in your first game at Lord's and ended up in the toilets?
No chance, but it's a good question. I've heard lots of people who have done that, but to be fair, actually, when you played at Lord's, you got to make sure you can get lost there. There's so many different doors. It's like a little maze, and Lord's is pretty cool. Walking down those stairs, you got all the paintings on the wall, and as soon as you get into that long room, there's a massive clap. And I think I didn't actually play that test in the Ashes at Lord's, but I went out for the anthems when it was a Ruth Strauss Foundation Day.
Yeah.
And mate, the crowd in there was immense. It was so loud, and all the members, and getting into the Aussies, it was a pretty cool feeling, even though I wasn't playing. I loved every minute.
Special day, very special day. Now we've got another question here. What went through your mind when you took a hat trick in the IPL?
That was probably an amazing memory for me. To be fair, it was it all happened pretty quickly. I think it was against Delhi. We kind of were nowhere in the game, and I got one. I think a half volley smacked down to long off, and I think it was Colin Ingram, and then all of a sudden they probably needed 20 or 16 balls or so, and bowled a couple. Obviously, I don't know who the other guy was. I got out second, but he nicked off trying to have a big hack over mid wicket, and then obviously my over was actually over, so they probably needed 16 or 17 of the last 2 overs. So I got 2 wickets, 5th and 6th ball of my over. I think Mohammed Shami bowled a really good over, which got it down to about 13 off the last, and I bowled Rabada first ball of my last over of the game, and it came up on the screen, hat trick, and I literally had no idea it was a hat trick. And playing cricket in India is so different to playing in England, because in England you can actually like hear the chants and it's really, really cool and things like that. Whereas in India, have you ever been to India?
I have, yeah. It's a crazy place, isn't it?
Oh,
mental.
It's so the crowds are massive, like just screaming at you, and you can't even. It was so loud, and it only probably sunk in after the game where you actually realised, looking back at your spell. But in the moment, it was just pure joy, and we ended up winning the game, and yeah, it was a great memory.
Do you love the IPL? Do you get a real buzz playing in the IPL?
Yeah, it is. I really enjoyed it. I'm actually looking back now, because we would have actually been there right now if this coronavirus wasn't going on. So I think it's an amazing tournament, and I think if you're playing, it's a great tournament. You're playing against the best guys in the world, and it's a lot of travel and things like that, and you travel around some amazing places. India is very different to obviously England, whereas you're playing with different. I really enjoyed learning from different guys in the dressing room. Got so many different like nationalities and players, so you can pick their brains, and there's a lot of travel. It's very, very busy in terms of you play a game. They start 8 in the evening, and you're flying the next morning. So it's pretty cool, and hopefully some point this year we can all go back and play in the tournament. There's a lot of. I think they postponed it till about the 15th, but
is that right?
I'm not too sure what's going to happen.
And the Test series there in January potentially going ahead as well, so that'll be a good trip out for the Barmy Army over in India.
Yeah, exactly. I think India, again, that's another place I haven't played in Tests, but everyone knows and everyone says that it's probably similar to Australia. It's a really tough place to go and win. So I think those are the ultimate place. If you can win, every team, I think, ultimate goal is to win abroad, and I think if we can hopefully start winning abroad in the years to come, I think that's the main aim, and it's pretty cool that we can go over there, and hopefully we can go better prepared than them. I guess obviously they'll be prepared for their own conditions, but if we can go there, prepare well, and you never know, we just give it our all.
Quality, good to hear. So back to your song, we played it right at the start. What was it like when you heard it for the first time? Can you remember it?
I can actually, to be fair. It was probably Edgbaston actually where it sunk in. I think maybe days. You probably started singing it maybe day 2, when I think, to be fair, I had absolutely no idea what you guys were saying for the first day, and then Ruti actually came to me in the dressing room like, "You got a song, like." Because I think it's quite cool when the Barmy Army give you a song and everyone in the dressing room is like, "Oi lads, you heard the new song for like Dennis, you heard the new song for this boy." Like, that's pretty cool when you come into the dressing room, and in the moment you probably almost get that tunnel vision, you kind of not really hearing anything, but I think in the field as a bowler, you bowl your style, and then you come off and you're standing in the field, then everything kind of, oh Jimmy, like all these things get going, and I think it's pretty cool. But I definitely learnt a bit more as I played more games, and it's obviously a very cool song, and I appreciate all the support that the Barmy Army gives.
Have anyone ever sent you a picture of a chameleon then?
Oh, I've had a few actually from some of the boys that have already commented on Elliot, Woody, all those boys getting stuck into me.
Very good. So we've only got a couple more questions to ask you, but the first one is, we're all stuck in isolation. Who would and who wouldn't you most like to isolate with?
Good question. As in the players?
Players, yeah.
Oh, Who we have? I reckon I'd like to isolate it with Sibbers, Dom Sibley. We'd have some. We're really good mates. Obviously, get a lot of FIFA going, and we have take the mick out of each other. He's one of the good. I reckon Woody. I'd struggle with Woody. He's got too much energy for me. I think
everyone said that.
Yeah, obviously everyone loves Woody, but he's got a lot of energy, and I think you actually appreciate sometimes in this isolation just sitting back and almost relaxing a little bit. And that's pretty. Who else would be there? Who else? Zach Crawley. He'll be a funny one to hang out with. He's got a lot of. He comes up with some really strange jokes and like really old school. He's got no social media, and we still try to convince him to get on social media, but he's having none of it. So hopefully, the more games he plays and stuff like that, the Barmy Army can get a song going, and he'll have to get
absolutely
on social media. But those are probably the three. And yeah, to be fair, they're all good lads, so I wouldn't really mind. But Woody's too much energy.
Yeah, well, Ruti said exactly the same thing, right? So, right, so we have got only a couple more questions now. One of the main questions that people have been asking is bizarrely about golf. What's your handicap?
I play off 10, but it can go both ways. I can be a really good 10, and then another day it's left, right, and everywhere. So it's I love golf. I play quite a lot in the summer when the games are going on. All the players, Stokesy's very good. Jimmy, I think, plays off 6. But I think there's probably like 8 or 9 or even 10 players who play, and Surrey boys play a lot as well. So golf is it's social as well, which we really enjoy. No one takes it too seriously, and other than there's a few throwing of clubs here and there.
Absolutely, all competitive sportsmen. And the final question for the interview. No more questions on the live stream now, guys. We have to ask this. We asked it Woody. Now, who do you think is who is the longest in the shower?
Who did Woody say? Because I reckon I'd probably say him or Denley. I reckon.
Oh, he said Joff. Said it's got a mind of its own.
Yeah. I think it depends. I guess some guys get out early and they just literally go to have a shower for like 20 minutes and just don't speak to anyone. I don't really know.
We'll leave it at Woody and Denley. I like the we like the mystery around it. Sam, thank you so much, mate, for coming on and doing this for the Barmy Army. Everyone who's watched this, thank you for watching. Make sure you donate below on Sam's page. Thank you all for your support, all your emails in and your messages, and just big hand to Sam. Thank you, buddy. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.